Hello everyone and welcome to the viewer verdict for Metal Gear Solid board game. Did an unboxing of this recently and I thought, so I know how heavily to push this up the painting priority order, I should do a viewer verdict just to see how much interest there is in seeing a campaign playthrough of the Shadow Moses campaign. First of all, though, apologies in advance if I sound particularly congested or otherwise lacking in energy compared to normal. Coming down with a cold or a flu or something, feel terrible, but I really want to play this, so we're going to record it. And this first mission is actually pretty short, so it's not going to take super long, and it will give me and you a taste of the game. And if you aren't familiar, the Viewer Verdict series is your chance to help influence how often something will appear on the channel. So watch the video with me and follow along. I'll do an overview of how it plays, etc. before we get started, and then take to the comments after you finish watching to say whether you are for or against this being on the channel regularly. It comes with a full campaign that's pretty long. It has VR missions that you might want to put in between main missions because you actually earn equipment you can use in the main campaign. I don't know how difficult they are though. The game is a little complicated to read. I don't think the rulebook is particularly good, but watching some video tutorials helped me understand it. That said, there might still be some little mistakes. Hopefully we'll try and keep them to a minimum. So with that, let's go look at the assets and talk through this very opening mission, which recreates the literal start of Metal Gear Solid 1. So this is the view we're going to have for most of this, probably because this is the one board we're using. I think at most you can use 4 of these boards, and these count as zones. The active zone is important for in terms of how many guards are activating. If you're not in the zone, they're not going to be activating. And this little symbol up here, which the campaign book will dictate where you put it, shows you a reminder of the priority order in which enemies activate. They activate from top left, in rows, and then they go down left to right. So that's the order in which guards activate. That also gives you a reminder because you can help plan out your moves. And in this opening, Snake has just come out of the water. He doesn't actually have his gun. He has no equipment. It's all on-site procurement. So he has nothing. And his goal is to get to that letter A. I think you have to spend an action. I'll need to double check that. It summons an elevator with a guard in it. He has to sneak in while not being alerted, use and interact to activate the elevator, and that takes him up to where the full game appears. You get the title drop when you're in the elevator in the original video game. There is 3 guards. Some more might spawn from inside their main barracks here, and these missions, when you're not fighting a boss like the 2 you can sort of see up here, they're focused on stealth. You can kill guards, you can knock them out, but if you get seen, it's going to go bad pretty quick. So ideally you want to be full stealth. Now that probably won't happen, and bad luck can just occur. Even if you play perfectly, there are still random chance involved in the mechanics. So this mission is quick enough that if I absolutely just mess it up, we'll quickly reset, try again, and see if it goes any better. So we'll be back to this when we're ready to start playing. Let's quickly go over Snake and how the player board looks, how it works, and then how the guards work. That's the most complicated part, is the guards. So here is Snake's player board. He has a bunch of skills along with some generic actions, and each turn is comprised of you doing 4 things. You have these 4 tokens. If you had any equipment like a gun, for instance, this would be over here, and they have similar circles, and you spend your action points by placing them in what you want to do. Some, such as his combo attack, would require 2. You can do 4 things a turn. Some of them have this symbol next to them, such as the dash, which is move 2 instead of 1 space for sneaking, and that is you testing how much noise you make after you finish your activation. You roll white dice, and if you ever get the exclamation mark, which I think was out of focus, but you know what an exclamation mark looks like, that means you have created noise from doing those noisy actions. If no token is on the table, you put the investigate token down where you are, because a guard has heard you and the closest guard will come and investigate. If this was already on the table, it goes full alert, they know precisely where you are, and every guard will come to try and kill you. It's not completely over if that happens. You can still get away. You can hide, so your last known position might not be where you actually are, but it'll be really difficult once that happens. You've got some base stats. You can have 3 equipment. Snake has a defense of 3 and a health of 4. He has 2 special abilities. Only one of them is going to be relevant in this tutorial, and I'll talk about these in a second as well, because these aren't actually used at the start of the campaign. I don't know why, because of all the mechanics, this mechanic, which is the focus mechanic, seems like the easiest, so I don't know why they didn't just include it. But either way, He's got a sneak attack ability. Once per round, after you deal damage to a target you are behind in the same row or column, you can deal +1 damage of the same type. Then it has a little codec number which lets you look up a book of codec codes, which it came with. I showed in the unboxing. It gives you blurbs, and like some of them are in jokes. I think that one, I looked up that one, it's like it's Snake asking the Colonel on the codec, can I do that to someone I'm facing? And the Colonel's like, no, that's silly. And his other ability is I Work Alone. This one will be relevant because playing solo, and in this mission you must use Snake and no one else. Once per round, if there are no players within 2 spaces, you can plus or minus 1 to any 1 die result when using a weapon. Although actually I've just realised no, won't, because he started with no weapon. So never mind, we won't be seeing that. Each character that you can play as in the game, which is Snake, Merle, Otacon and Grey Fox, has 4 different abilities which are in the form of focus tokens. You can choose to use them whenever you like, really, whenever they're relevant at least. So for instance, Snake can buy himself a reroll, or +2 or -2 a die. You flip them over when they're not used, and you would have to put points into focus to regenerate them. The cost to regenerate them is on the card. But the campaign book specifies that for the purposes of this first mission, we're not allowed to use these. So I am going to remove them. I just wanted to show you for an explanation in case you do want to see more and I play more of the campaign on camera. So those aren't used here. We're just completely basic with no gear, no pistol, no grenades, no nothing. So we have to rely on stealth more so than anything else. There are also black dice that are sometimes used. They don't have a negative on them. It's just the 1 on these white dice that is the bad result. Last thing to go over, I promise, before we get started, is the guard board. And I've deliberately offset these, but these would be 1 deck. When you're making the game, you have a bunch of these guard orders that are red. You shuffle them and put them at the bottom. There is 20 of these teal coloured ones. You shuffle them, randomise 10 of them, shuffle them again, put them on top, and that is your guard order deck. Within the red cards, which are the latter half, there is 1 card in there somewhere that just says you lose. It's game over, you just lose, you've ran out of time. So that's one of the fail states. The other fail state is you die. I think that's about it in terms of fail state actually. But there's other mechanics in the game which would shuffle some of these top cards to the bottom, meaning the red cards come up faster and you run out of time faster. Each end of turn, or rather at the start of the enemy turn, we go first. You draw the top card and that has like a top down, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. We'll cover those as we play. If at any time a guard stumbles on an unconscious body, a dead body, or the last known location of you, we draw one of these, which has also been randomised. It's guard reactions, and they do a thing. It's randomised, so I can't be specific beyond that. When they attack us, they roll 2 black dice. They have a defense of 3, and they have 2 health, which is relevant for trying to kill them or knock them out. Snake can only knock them out because he hasn't started with a gun. So I think that covers it, and I've got some spare guards up here, because we might need them, and I have 1 waiting in the elevator on the assumption that we make it far enough to call them. Last thing, if I do knock out or kill any guards, that is the symbols you would use. You take the model off, and if they're knocked out, they start like that. They get closer to being woken up, and then they get woken up, depending on what the guard order card says. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So let's actually start playing. Let's try and get Snake on his mission. I'm going to stay pulled back for this first one just so I can show you what I'm doing with the action tokens down here on Snake's board. After that I'll kind of zoom in more so you can just focus on what the guards are doing. Every guard has a little pointer on the front of them to show where they're facing, and we'll worry about these icons on the map as and when we need to. It's just they're there to stop a guard ever just facing a wall and being too easy to get around. So as Snake, we could sneak 4 spaces, we don't create any noise, that gives us our best chance of not being seen, but it depends on where we go, because 4 spaces could get us here for instance. There's a wall there, very unlikely this guard's going to walk far enough to see us. This guard's going to wander down here probably, because we haven't made any noise. This guard down here though, he's the problem, because if we draw a card that makes him walk 4 or more, he'll turn and see us. And they have direct line of sight. If there's no intervening terrain, they just see you. So that would be a problem. If I stop here, that would avoid that from happening, but then we've not really moved very far. So it depends on how dangerous you want to be. For the purposes of just trying to be brave, I'm going to just spend all 4 of my tokens on sneaking. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, we'll keep 1. No, I've changed. Yeah, we'll go full brave. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is where Snake is. He's got a wall right there. And that's my turn. My turn is over. I've spent all 4 of my actions. I could technically sneak 1 more if I had my focus tokens, because this one lets you take away a white dice if you've made too much noise, or instead sneak 1 extra space. But campaign says you're not allowed to do that, so I won't. So I'm just going to draw the top of the guard order deck, and we'll talk through what it says. Here it is. So all these cards are different. They're not going to be the same thing. Everyone ends with this kind of thing down here. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's go down in order. So this first thing is saying that if there's a guard within 2 of you, you've made a noise, I don't know, maybe you passed gas or something, and you now have to put down your investigate token, which is this, because they heard you do something. You've made a mistake, you made noise, and that would influence them when they come towards you. If there was cameras on the level, they would flip from looking down the green line of sight to orange. And then finally, if they knew exactly where you were, as in your red exclamation mark is on the table, they would move 4 towards you. If they see a guard that's dead or unconscious, they move 2 towards it, and if they need to turn, they turn to the right. Or, if there's none of that, they do what's called patrol. So I actually got very lucky here. So, I'll just put that there for a second. That's what all the guards are doing. We start at top left and work our way. So he's moving, 1, he turns, 2. Although actually, hang on, he moves 1, he needs to turn, and it actually says to turn that way. He would then face a wall, which means he turns again and moves there, I think. Because it doesn't say to turn to his left, it's our right. Then it would be him, he moves 1, 2, and he's moving forwards, so he would just stay moving forward. If he just came out that room and ended his turn facing that wall, that symbol means you turn. You turn until you actually have a facing. You don't just stay facing a wall, because you wouldn't be hitting anything. And then finally, 1, 2. Simple as that. So we actually got very lucky with them not moving much at all, and that is that guard card resolved. You put it away, it's done. Next turn, a new card comes out, but it's back around to me. My tokens come back, and I get to do something else. So, my new turn begins. The only thing I wasn't 100% sure on was whether or not I did this guard correctly. I'm fine with how those did, but I think I am right, because they had to turn to their right facing. He would be facing a wall, so he keeps turning until he isn't facing. So I'm pretty sure that's correct. If it isn't, apologies, by all means correct me, but I think it is. So, it's a new turn, and I was going to go down the middle here, but because he's now going down that way, and those two are pretty much going that way, I think the safest route is maybe to come up around here. So, for the purposes of, if I wanted to be super sneaky, I'd get there, and I'm actually kind of okay with that. It's going to be another quick turn. I'm just going to sneak 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, we're there. I was considering dashing, but there's really no point. If I get close to a guard's back next turn, I could take them out with Snake's special attack, but I need to get to their back without being alerted, so I'm not going to create any noise. That's my turn. Top of the guard order deck. You'll see this is completely, well, not completely different, but different symbols. So this means if there's 3 or more dead guards, you would shuffle, I believe it's 2 cards from the top of the guard order deck to the bottom of it. You reveal them first, just to see what they are, in case it's the game over. And that means the game over comes closer to the top. You're closer to losing. You flip the cameras, if there's any. There isn't here. They don't know where I am. I haven't made any noise. They're moving 4 and turning to the right. So, this guy goes first. 1, 2, 3, 4. He turns to the right, but he's facing a wall, so annoyingly, he is facing right back up there. And then this guy would activate. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this guy, 1, 2, he's facing a wall. So he would turn, 3, 4. I hope he only turns once, because if he turned, actually, I guess you would orientate it like that, so yes, he would turn that way, hopefully. And none of them can see me. It's going to be a problem getting to where I need to get to, though, with those 2 guards down there. Yeah, well, I was just checking there about the guards and which way you prioritise them turning if they walk into a wall, essentially. And it's on page 15 of the rulebook. Guard rotation when facing an obstacle. If a guard figure is blocked facing an obstacle, such as a wall or locked door, Rotate it to face the closest space from its current direction that is not blocked. If there's more than one such space, rotate it in the direction of the arrow on the guard order card until it is not blocked. So hopefully that was done correctly. Anywho, new turn. And I have a decision to make, unfortunately, which could turn bad real quick. I think I'm going to take a chance and dash a little bit, because I'm not sure which way these guards are going, right? Because if they go to this wall, the guard card could say, well, you turn to your right. So you might turn and it will be facing a wall still, so turn right again and walk this way. If a guard walks by like this and I was just here, they would not see me. If they turned like this, they instantly see me and shoot. That's the problem. Where was he? Was he there? He was one away, yeah. So, let's sneak for one. And then, that would be sneak for two. Then 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I'm going to sneak twice, dash twice. 2, and a dash is 2 moves. So I'm hiding in this little room here. But, I did 2 noisy actions, which is potentially dangerous. So when I end my turn, and I'm going to open up the rulebook to double check I do this right, you roll 1 white die for each noisy thing you did. If I had access to my focus abilities, I could use one of Snake's to say, actually no, I'm taking away one of those white dice. And if I roll any ones, I create a level of noise. And depending on what level of noise you've already created, it escalates by 1. It's called drawing attention, I think. Anywho, let's see, where is the page? I will say the rulebook is not well laid out. That's partially because the start of the campaign has some of the rules incorporated into it. It's good for learning, but not good for checking on things. So, let's just assume it is 1 die. I'm pretty sure it's 1 die per. So that was a 6 and a 3. That means I did not create any noise. But let's pretend, just to show off how it works, let's say I did roll an exclamation mark. I can't do anything about it. Because I've not made any noise on the table so far, this was on there. If this was already on there, it would escalate to, I've made too much noise, they know where I am. Thankfully, I got lucky and didn't make any noise there. So we move on to guard orders and see what they do. The radio. So, I shall read this at the back of the book. So this is the radio in. If the number of guards are less than the guard count, spawn guards in the barracks, 1 at a time up to the guard count. The guard count for this area is 3. All 3 guards are still alive. Nothing happens. Cameras, they would not change. There isn't any cameras. They are moving a lot though. They're moving 5. So starting with this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's facing a wall. He turns this way, but then he turns that way. Because you don't end facing a wall. Then it would be this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's facing a wall. He would have to face this way. Although actually, the way it was worded, it's if there's a choice. Yeah, I guess there is a choice because he could turn back. Although really, he could only face this way. I'm going to have to reread that. The bit about the when you use the card and when you don't. So if a guard is, let's see, he ended there. Blocked by a wall, rotate it to face the closest space from its current direction that is not blocked. If there is more than one such space, rotate it in the direction of the arrow of the guard order card. Rotating it to face backwards would be 2, so I think actually in that instance he would just face left. So we'll do that, and then finally 1, he has to turn. He turns that way, because if he'd done it by the card he'd be facing the wall again, so I think that's how that's done. 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's wandering away up there, and that is that. For this turn, by the way, you can spend one of your actions to do a knock, like you knock on something and it creates a sound so the closest guard will come investigate. I'm going to dash for 1, so that's 1, 2 movement, and then sneak for 3. 1, 2, 3. All the way down to this corner, hoping that those guards do not turn around. I did do 1 noisy thing, let's see if it bites me. That was a 5, so no it does not. And then we draw, or what is it, it's the 4th card I think? I'm trying to keep track for when it gets to the dangerous cards. If there was 3 or more dead guards, shuffle, switch the cameras. They're walking 3, starting at the top left of the table, so that is this guy. 1, 2, 3, and he's still got a facing, so he doesn't need to change. Then this guy, 1, 2, 3. Now he ended on that, so I think he does have to turn. I'm actually not 100% sure. I think that's there for if you ended facing like that, so we'll keep him facing there. like I said at the top of the video, the moving of the guards is by far the most complicated part of this game. And then finally, 1, 2, he's facing a wall, 3, which gives me a pretty quick route just to get to the button. I'll go double check now if I need an action to press the button, and we're not immediately able to just leave because there's a guard in the elevator. So no, I just need to move on to it, so I'm going to sneak for 2. We immediately have triggered the elevator, which means this gets replaced by this, and there is a guard inside. So he is going to walk forwards, so I'm just going to sneak back 1, because there isn't any reason, like, I don't think there's any, there was one card that was moved too, wasn't there? I'm going to take the chance that there's not another one immediately, and he's just going to walk forwards, so I'm just going to end my turn there and wait. If I wanted to be safe, I could dash around. Well, that's not necessarily safe. I could dash around the corner, but then I'd have to roll this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end where I was, but let's just see if I'd done that. Would I have made too much noise? No. So it would have been perfectly safe. But I chose not to do that, so let's see if it bites me. They're going to be moving 5. So if a guard was unconscious, it would go to 1 away from waking up. If it was 1 away from waking up, it would wake up. Switch the cameras. They don't know where I am. I didn't make any noise. They're moving 5. Top left. So this one would go first. 1, 2, 3, 4. In an instance where a guard would walk over another guard, they leapfrog. I don't know how and why that's quite a thing, but it is. And you can leapfrog guards as well, for the record, but if you do that, every guard you leapfrog over get to do a free attack against you afterwards, which sounds like something you never ever want to do. I presume it's there so, for instance, if you were stuck in this room and you had like 2 guards, you get out, but you get punished for having to do that. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's facing a wall, and this wants him to turn to his left, so he'll be facing that way. And then this guard, leapfrog for 1, 2, 3. He's facing a wall. 4, 5. Oh, if I'd gone round that corner, I would have been seen, because he actually ended up going down there. So I did do the right thing in the end. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he has ended on a turn thing. So, well, it doesn't really matter whether he stays facing that way or this way. They only see out the front view, so I will be able to just walk out now. I will dash for 2, dash for 2 again, and interact with the elevator and go up to where the main game happens. So hopefully that was done mostly correct. So I opened up the campaign book, and because it's the Integral Edition, it's got all the art that it kind of intersperses. That is Chapter 1. You get into the elevator, you take off your scuba gear, and you become Solid Snake. And in the next area you would actually start procuring some equipment. Some missions have optional objectives that let you procure more equipment. You can only ever bring a certain amount dictated on your character card, but it gives you choices for what you think you need for the missions. As I say, the most complicated part is definitely the guard movement. I hopefully did it mostly right there. The only thing I was definitely not sure about is, for instance, this guard here, when he ended his movement on one of these turny things. I can't remember if you always have to use them or if it's only in certain situations. The only reason that I thought it was only if you ended facing a wall, for instance. It was telling you even if you're out of movement you must change, but that wouldn't explain why there's one here, because there's no walls and you only ever move orthogonally. So I don't know why that one's there, which would lead me to believe it does trigger a turn as long as you're patrolling and not like chasing someone. So if you do know for sure, by all means let me know about that one, because that's the one I'm most not sure about. All the rest I think was largely done correctly. If I spotted anything while editing this, I'll have put it up on the screen obviously. But this first mission, super quick. Next mission would be longer because I think it's 2 areas. I think it's 4 actually. It's quite a large area. It's the most well-known area. It's the helipad. Before you get inside the main facility, there's a chance to get your pistol and probably chaff grenades. There's an optional objective. I think you get chaff grenades if you go into that little side warehouse. It's been a long time since I played the original game. But either way, let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing more of this on a semi-regular basis, and that will let me know to prioritise, at the very least, getting Snake painted up and maybe just enough generic guards. And then there is boss fights. If you want to see all the models that were in this, go check out the unboxing I did. With that said, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go back to bed now because I feel ill. Enjoy the rest of your day and let me know what you thought in the comments, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.